Alright, students, this video is going to go over synthetic division. And first we're going to need to do long division. So before we even do that, we should do long division elementary school style. Because what this is a polynomial with 4 terms. That's a term, a term, a term, a term. Different terms are being added together. But 19x, that whole thing is one term. 8x squared, that's one term. This has 2 terms. Just reviewing that for you. Let's say we had 473 divided by 9. Yeah, I don't know how many times 9 goes into 473. We don't memorize those types of numbers. So we write it out this way. Okay. When we do this, what we got to do is say 9 doesn't go into 4. So then we look at the next one. 9 into 47, that's 5 times. Now here's the key. When we do this, we multiply. 9 times 5 is 45. Then we subtract. 7 minus 45 is 2. 9 doesn't go into 2, so we bring down the next term. So notice these cancel, and we're going to try and go 9 into 23. It won't go exactly. It will go 2 times. 2 times 9 is 18. Subtract. And then if you want to go decimals, we keep on bringing down. But the main idea here is you multiply these, then you subtract, then you bring down the next term. That's the rule. Multiply, subtract, bring down. We're going to use that over and over and over again. So for this one, what we're going to do is say x plus 3 goes outside. Inside we have x cubed plus 8x squared plus 19x plus 12. Now, let's refer back to this. Remember, for this first part, those numbers had to cancel. Okay? That's what we want here. Okay, we didn't worry about the 5 and the 7. We just needed to make sure the first digits canceled. So when I do that here, we got to figure out how do I get x cubed. Well, remember, I did 5 times 9 to get the 45. Well, I need to multiply by something. I'm going to put x squared up here. Now, here's why. What we're going to do is we're going to take this and multiply times those and see what ends up happening. When we multiply, we have to go times the x and times the 3. When we do this, we get x times x, but x squared times x gives us x cubed. X squared times 3 gives us 3x squared. And remember, we subtracted. We're going to do that here. We have to put a minus here and a minus here. Those should cancel. We should have a plus and a minus. They cancel each other out. This is 8 plus a negative 3, or just 8 minus 3 would be 5. What did we do next over here? We brought down the 3. We're going to bring down the 3. Sorry, bring down the 19. Our problem has 19. And then it repeats. We try and match these terms. Remember, we had to cancel the first terms. That's always going to happen here. We need to cancel a 5, so we need a 5. This is x, but we need x squared. So we need x, because x times x gives us x squared. Again, that's positive. 5x times x gives us 5x squared. 5x times 3 gives us 15. I don't care that these don't match. The front numbers have to match. These two have to look identical. So you have to match the exponent and we have to match the number. So remember, we multiplied, then we subtract. Subtracting this and that. Subtract, those disappear. You get 4x. 19 minus 15 is 4. Bring down the next one, plus 12. So now I got to match x with 4x. So I'm going to put a plus 4. All we need is a 4 because we already have the x here. When we multiply, that'd be a 4x. When we multiply, that'd be a 12. And this works because when we subtract and subtract, we get 0 remainder. That's what we want when we divide. This didn't have a 0 remainder. That's okay. But we really want a 0 remainder when we're doing long division. Okay. So what that means is this divided nicely by this. And this part up here is your answer. So let's take that with synthetic division and try and do that same thing with synthetic. Okay, let's go back to here. Synthetic does this, and I'll show it here and then I'll write it side by side. Synthetic says, okay, take just the numbers in front. That's a 1, really. 1, 8, 19, and 12. And I'm going to remember that those are actually tied to That's really 19x. That's really 8x squared. I leave a space and draw a line. Now here's the deal. Remember here we went and we did subtract, 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 subtract. Well, instead of doing the subtract all the time, this 3, we're just going to use the 3, and I'm going to make the opposite to begin with. Okay, and we'll come back over that in a second. Here's what we're going to do with synthetic division. Just follow the steps, and then I'll explain why it's the same. We always bring down the first term. These multiply. And then now you add. Remember, subtract, subtract, subtract. Now we just add 8 plus a negative 3, or 8 and a negative 3 will give you 5. Multiply again. Combine them. Multiply. Combine them. And there's what we got. So multiplied, got that, combine them. Multiplied 3 times 5, got 15, combine them. 3 times 4 gives 12, combine them. This is our remainder, and this is really the 4, sorry, that's really the 4, that's really the 5x, and that's really the 1x squared. Okay, so working backwards from the remainder, the whole number, the x squared, and if we had more terms, we just keep counting up. X cubed, and so on. What we have to remember, though, with this is that minus 3 really represents what we divided, which is x plus 3. Okay, so let me see if I can show you how this is the same. Zoom it out here. Take a look. Let's look and see if we can find what's the same. Notice here you had 8, 3, and that gave you 5. 8, 3, and gave you 5. 19, 15, and 4, 19, 15, and 4. The 12, 12, and the 0, the 12, 12, and the 0. This thing had a whole bunch of blank space here and a whole bunch of blank space here. And when we took out the x's to do this, we sort of condensed the whole thing. Okay, if that's kind of confusing, don't worry. It's not obvious, and it took a really smart mathematician to come up with that. This is not my trick. This has been known for a long time. And it works very, very well. It saves you some time. Key things to remember, always bring down the first term. And even though this is opposite, that's because we didn't want to subtract. We made it opposite to begin with, and it works a little nicer that way. Okay, so that's how this all goes. All right, hopefully all that makes sense. We'll continue. The point of why we do it here, to break down something that was x cubed like we started with, we needed, our regular factoring doesn't work. Box method and all that does not work. Once we get down to this part, after we factor this part we can now use box method, have x and x, give you x squared. To get a 4, maybe it's 2 and 2, I don't think so. So take a look right there, that's not going to give you the 5x. It's going to have to be 4 and a 1. Because 4x and 1x will give you a 5x. Those are our factors, and that's why we use synthetic division. All right, thanks for watching.